Welcome. This is Greg, aka Kelly Red, and I will be giving a short video on how to post a WEI table on the onepocket.org website. This is a wonderful website that Steve Booth has put a lot of hard work into and contains a ton of information. So be sure to browse around it and learn about all the different links he has here. You can put your mouse up there and view the menus under each one of these. If you're just starting the game, here's a bunch of interesting things. You got the Hall of Fame with the record book, who placed what in what tournament, and also the news archives are great. They contain lots of good stories, and you can either click on this or scroll down your browser to get to the older years news archives. So make sure you go back and visit those. A lot of great stories in there, and you also have a lot of great interviews here. So let's get started. This is going to be the YouTube version of this. I will put out a larger version of this once I find a place to host the file. But for right now, we'll try out the YouTube version and see how that works just to get going. Alright, let's start. So we're at the onepocket.org website. Oh, by the way, this is unscripted, so I'm going to be sputting and spattering there. So just don't take it easy on me, alright? Okay, so we go to the message board here, and we have two different ways we can open a WEI table. The first method is you can click on the click here to use a new WEI table link right here, and it is going to open a pop-up window right here, and it will be this size here. Now you can get some larger sizes, but maybe I shouldn't go into detail about that right now. Let's just use this one as an example as to not confuse you. The first thing we're going to do is set up a shot, and I'm going to try and remember a shot that Dennis had put in there to use as an example. So the first thing we may want to do is click on the Tools tab here, which will bring up all these different tools on this bar down here. And if you hover your mouse over each one, it'll give you an idea of what they do. So the first thing we're going to do, and the only reason as a basic thing to put on here is that way we can show the cue ball English. We're not going to really use any other of these tabs unless we'll let you experiment with those, and actually I'll be coming out with another video to describe what each one of these do. But for right now, let's set up a shot. First thing you want to do is click on a ball and drag it to the table. To do that, we just left click on the ball and hold down your left click this whole time, and once you're there, just release your left mouse click, your left mouse button. And if you need to move it again, just click a hold of it, hold down your mouse and move it somewhere and release it. So let's see, I think he had a ball, oh, I don't remember exactly, maybe here. We're going to drag the cue ball here, once again holding down the left mouse button the whole time we're dragging it, and then we're going to release it. And I think there was a ball over here, something like that. Anyway, he was describing that he was going to bank this 4-ball 1-2 rails back down here and leave the cue ball down here on the rail. So let's give that a whirl. We're going to double click on the cue ball first. That's a double click, and you can see now there's an arrow. Now this arrow is going to represent where the cue ball is going to go. So we know the cue ball is going to hit the 4, and then after that it's going to do something. So just keep that in mind. the first thing where the cue ball is going to hit, it's going to hit the 4 ball. So we bring it up here, and then we click once, and it'll make a pivot point there, which means a stopping point. And you can see now it shows that it hit the 4 ball. So from now we need to describe where it's going to go next. So we know at this angle we're going to hit the 4. We know the cue ball is going to come down this way, depending on whether you use draw, follow, English, that kind of jazz. But let's just, as an example, say it's going to hit here. So we click again, and then say we want it to end up here. So this is our final resting point here. So when you get to your final spot, you double click. Okay, now you can see that there is a cue path of hitting the 4, coming to the rail, and then down to this rail or somewhere thereabouts. You've now made your first line. Now say you screw this line up somehow, no big deal. You've got two icons here that say delete one line or delete all lines. Well, because we only got one line right now, we'll just click that one. It doesn't really matter at this point because we have only one line. So to do it again, we're going to double click the cue ball. We now have a arrow that points different directions. We just move our mouse to where it gets up here on the 4 ball, and then we're going to click once. Once I click, you can see now that the arrow is ready to go somewhere else. So with the cue ball path going to be coming down this way, we're just going to click once here on the rail, and then we're going to click down here. Now at the end of your path, you're going to double click, and you can see now the arrow, the line stays there, and we're ready to now show the 4 ball path. One other thing that's important to put is which pocket do we have. Well, we're going to use this cue ball down here that says A to designate that we have the pocket A up here. So just like any other ball, we're just going to left mouse click on it and drag it onto the table and dump it in the pocket here and let go. Okay. So now we know this is our pocket. So we want this 4 ball to come down here, hit the rail, hit this rail, and come down. So to make a line for the 4 ball, we just double click on the 4, and now you can see it has the 4 ball color. And we just come down here to a rail where we think it's going to hit. Come down here, maybe click again, and then show that the idea is to come down here to this pocket. Once we get done with that, we double click, and you can see now we have 2 lines. One for the cue ball that's black, one for the 4 ball that's purple. And that is how to create a line. Now once again, if you screw up, which you're bound to do, and you want to just click this last line that you messed up on, click on delete one line. You can see now that line's gone and you can start over. Just double click on the 4, create the line, come down here to the rail where you think it's going to hit, click once, come down here on this rail, click once, and then draw it up that way and show it's going to head towards your pocket. Double click when you're done, and there's your line. Now remember a couple of other things. That's how you create a WEI table. A couple of other things to look at is when you're viewing. Well, actually, I'll get to that on a post here. So we're all done creating our table. So the last thing we do is we click on this last red button right here that says Copy Layout URL. Make sure you don't copy these here. Make sure you don't copy this layout HTML. Just make sure you copy this last one right next to the page ones. So we just click that once. We can see it says layout URL copied. Go to your forum post to paste now. So now we've got it copied.